All right, it is that time again. Lawyer Talk off the record on the air. Another Q&A. And by the way, folks, thank you very much for engaging. The questions are awesome. We got another one today that we're going to answer. But before I do that, if you've got your own question, go to lawyertalkpodcast.com and you can see right there an easy way to submit a question. Or if you just have a topic you want me to cover, I'll get to that too, or I'll do my best to get to it. Anyway, this week it comes from Gavin. He says, "Hey, Steve, why are DAs never sued when they bring frivolous lawsuits against people? There seems to be no recompense for the government employees. I think what he means to say is against the government employees despite trials ruining someone's life and costing them their life savings and home or job. Is there any state in the union where a member of the public can countersue for damages if they win a case? My recent legal experience leaves me with a sour taste that the system is set up in favor of the government." You are absolutely correct. The system seems all the time to be set up in favor of the government. After all, the government created the system. In theory, we have this Bill of Rights that was designed to protect us, the people, we the people, from the government that we created. But when you're charged with a crime and you didn't do it, or you've got an overzealous prosecutor, it certainly doesn't feel like that. So with that, I can certainly sympathize. Now to your question. What you're really asking is, can I sue a prosecutor, a DA, if this prosecutor brings a case against me that is bogus? And the answer is probably not. I've dealt with this time and time again. I have a trial upstairs in my law practice, and my client is acquitted, found not guilty. And they say, all right, now, how do I get my money back? How do I get my time back? How can I sue these SOBs for what they did to me? And almost invariably, the answer is no. Here's why. In Section 1983, there is this idea that we can sue government officials for civil rights violations. So generally speaking, that's when you hear about lawsuits against police officers who are police brutality, or this is well in the news lately. It all comes under Section 1983. And most government officials have something called qualified immunity. That would be your police officers or maybe your local government actors. Some government officials enjoy even more immunity. It's called absolute immunity. And those would be the kind of people that you want to sue. Those would be the judges. They would be the prosecutors. They would be the legislators, the people we vote for. Now, why is that? Well, look, I don't necessarily agree with it, but it goes all the way back to some civil rights legislation that later the U.S. Supreme Court says, all right, we're going to protect prosecutors unless they're doing something that actively and intentionally violates known and obvious constitutional rights. We're going to protect them because we think prosecutors have a tough job to do. And if they get sort of inundated, if they get flooded with lawsuits from everybody they prosecute, they're never going to be able to do their job. Well, maybe there's some semblance of truth to that. I hate that kind of policy argument, generally speaking, because basically what they're saying is, all right, prosecutors have a job to do, and if they don't do it well, part of their job is to deal with those things. They are public officials. Nonetheless, you can sort of understand. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is it seems that the U.S. Supreme Court might be willing to back down on this a little, or back off on this a little bit. There was a recent case that sort of came up through the system out of the Sixth Circuit, which is Michigan, Kentucky, Ohio, I think Tennessee. Anyway, there was a case where somebody was wrongfully convicted or prosecuted for a crime that was later dismissed. And there's an allegation the prosecutor told a witness to destroy some exculpatory evidence that helped the defense. The Sixth Circuit ruled against this litigant or this defendant because the prosecutor had absolute immunity, and it went up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they denied cert. So it sounds bad. They didn't want to review it, but they didn't just say cert denied. They wrote an opinion, and Justice Sodomys wrote the opinion. A liberal judge wrote the opinion sort of saying, look, we're not going to grant cert here. And there may be some other reasons why we're not going to grant cert or review this case. But I am going to say this seems awful hokey. And if these allegations are true, this is horrid. And we're not necessarily cool with it. And I think what the court is doing is telegraphing that it may be willing in the near future to dismantle some of this absolute immunity doctrine and look closer at prosecutors who step outside the law. Even so, there are some exceptions. If a if a prosecutor starts to work in conjunction with the police and give legal advice to police, they don't necessarily get absolute immunity. They're going to be demoted to qualified immunity. And that's different than actually going to court, doing their job, prosecuting. And there's some nuance to this that goes far beyond the scope of this question. But generally speaking, I will say this. I feel for you, man. Getting prosecuted for a crime you didn't commit is expensive. It takes everything you got, man. I mean, it draws up sides within the family, within the community, within your friends. You fight, and it's all over. And you feel like, all right, now what did I win? Other than I'm right back where I started, except I've lost all this money, all this time, all my resources, and not to mention the emotional tax that it takes on you. So look, I feel for you, but I don't have any great answer that you can just sue prosecutors. It's complicated, like most stuff in law. Anyway, I hope this answers your question. If anybody else has other questions along these lines or any lines, it's easy. Just go to lawyertalkpodcast.com, shoot me a note, and I will address it right here where we are coming at you week in, week out, off the record, on the air, at least until now. Hey, Steve Palmer here from Lawyer Talk. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Check us out, all our social media. Like, share, interact, ask your own questions. We're here for you.